a bunch of immigrants over there in that chapter 9 institution telling us that, you know, we are not nice people because we do not want to cohabit South Africa with illegal immigrants who flood our hospitals and clinics. No, man, I'm sick and tired of that institution. That thing must be shut. We've been talking about this for a very long time, and our government doesn't even take us serious. That thing must be dissolved. It exists against the plight of South Africans. It doesn't exist for us, folks. Shut that thing off, man.
There's a few things I find interesting in these issues that have to do with illegal foreigners being stopped from using public healthcare facilities, being opted for private and whatnot. South Africa is very interesting, and I think this is what happens when you are not governed, when you have criminals that are masquerading as leaders and presidents and ministers and so forth. It eventually shows really that the country is it's under siege. These guys are there to pocket money and nothing else. Okay. So first thing first that I find with interesting with the South African police when they deal with this matter is that they always come out to tell South Africans to say that they cannot stop illegal foreigners from accessing healthcare. The funny part is that Operation Dudula and whoever else that is implementing the story of stopping foreigners from accessing public health care is that they are doing it out of a section within the constitution. That is basic. What Operation Dudula is doing is what the South African police service should be doing by law. If they were following the law, they should be doing that. But it's very funny that they come to implement what is outside of the law. And the reason I'm saying this is that every time they come and threaten South Africans, if you ask them which section of the law are they basing this on or which policy, they can never answer you. That's why they always run away from cameras when they need to answer that, because their so-called protection and whatnot is not based on any policy and or any law to want to arrest South Africans from implementing the law, because what they're trying to do is to either stop South Africans or arrest them from implementing the law. The section that says that to even deal with the issue of the section that deals with illegal foreigners, to say undocumented illegal migrants, or rather undocumented foreigners, black or white or pink or purple, all right, should not be in the country. I mean, that one is clear. So I found it very interesting as well that there's a clip of one of the parliamentarians who say that the law says illegal immigrants should not be in the country. They should be deported out. And yet the constitution wants to come and say that it is unconstitutional for them to be denied healthcare and whatnot. Like I'm saying, when you are not governed, these are the issues that you are dealing with. Number two, I have never seen anyone from the governing party sitting and speaking about the legalities of what is happening in this country regarding illegal foreigners. I've never seen them. They can come and say Ubuntu and whatnot, but they never speak about the legalities of it. Each and every country out there that is sovereign has the right to implement policies that deal with foreigners. When we go to other countries, we are subjected to the foreign policies of those countries. Like Aaron Motsoaledi has said, when he was in one of the African countries, it was Kenya. When he was accessing healthcare, there was someone there with a speed point, and he kept swiping for his services. It's very funny that in South Africa that should not be the case. All right, and yet, like, this is very interesting. Like, it's basically nonsense. Like, it's nonsense, Buffett. What the ANC has done to this country is criminal. It's beyond criminal. If truly we had a proper justice system, it should have been dealing with them. But whoever comes, the new leadership that will come after the ANC, I hope you guys go after these bloody criminals. And I hope that we can go and retain laws such as some of the Chinese, laws that says that, corruption and whatnot, some of them are punishable by death. We really need to start dealing with some of these issues to that degree in South Africa, so that we can completely discourage the issue of this criminality that has been taking place with guys that have been wearing suits and masquerading as politicians. It's complete nonsense, and it needs to come to an end. So I find it funny that law enforcement and some of the judiciaries, the courts, will come and say illegal foreigners that should not be in the country. yeah, whatever they're saying there, it's quite interesting. Like, I don't even know what to say about it. I don't know what to say about it, Buffett. I just wanted to share my 2 cents there because I'm absolutely, completely confused as to what's going on, because the law says these people should not be in the country. And then now, there is a ruling that is saying otherwise, contrary to the law. So, Asaz, we don't know. We're in a puppet country, in a puppet democracy. Everything is puppetist. Yeah, everything is puppeteering or whatever the hell you call it in the English language. Shab Buffett.
So why is it that when we suggest documenting black immigrants, suddenly it's a problem? When Malema says, document these people, you say, we can't reward criminal behavior. But we already did that. We already rewarded the biggest criminals in this country's history. White people came here illegally and got rewarded with farms, beachfront properties, and generational wealth. After apartheid, no land was expropriated. We let them keep it. Nobody went to jail. You gave white illegal immigrants land. And all we want to do is give black illegal immigrants documents, which are just pieces of paper, by the way. But even that is unacceptable. This country worships whiteness. If a Nigerian did what Jan van Riebeeck and his friends did, you guys would start a war. But when white foreigners steal from you, you forgive and forget, because deep down you're scared. So now you act tough by bullying people with less power than you. You think harassing black foreigners makes you patriotic? Well, it doesn't. It just makes you look like a coward with selective outrage. Bullied by white people and too scared to fight back. So now you flex your muscles on poor black immigrants because they're the only people you can win a fight against. You're angry with undocumented black immigrants, but you're okay living alongside the descendants of Dutch settlers who came here illegally and stole everything from you. You say we can't tolerate disrespect from foreigners. You mean the same disrespect you've been tolerating from white settlers.
Welcome back to Gist9. So recently, a lot of people have been talking about the mass deportation of undocumented foreigners in South Africa. And many of them say this move feels long overdue. Now, on social media, South Africans are saying that they've had enough. That's enough of foreigners that keep coming into their country without proper papers. And these people are committing crimes and still walking free like nothing happened. So people are frustrated that the government has not been strict enough over the years. And they believe that this relaxed attitude has made the situation even worse. Now, South Africans, they have been complaining that undocumented foreigners are part of the reason that crime is so high in the country, from robberies to drug dealing to illegal mining. Many of them feel like some of these foreigners are the ones that are even behind these criminal activities, and yet nothing much happens to them. So people are angry because they believe that these individuals are taking advantage of a weak system, and they come in without proper documents. They get involved in shady deals, and in situations that they get caught, they either bribe their way out or are released without serious punishments. Now, as the government begins a mass deportation drive, many South Africans are finally breathing a sigh of relief. They see this as a step in the right direction. And when you come on social media, people are openly supporting the move. They are saying the government should have done this a long time ago. That if Nigeria can do it, why can't we? And that's what a lot of people are asking. And that question is not just random, because just recently, Nigeria's Immigration Service announced a nationwide crackdown on foreigners who have overstayed their visas. The Nigerian government made it clear, very clear, that anyone that refuses to regularize their stay will be arrested and deported. And the policy came right after the end of a government amnesty program, meaning that foreigners had already been given a chance to fix their papers. And if you ignore it, Nigerians are backing the immigration service for taking such a firm stand. And if you don't even do this, there is a fine. There is a fine that is attached to it. And after some time, if you disobey this, I think they'll ban you for 2 years or thereabouts. So this is exactly what many South Africans want to see from their own governments. Not they want to see illegal immigrants arrested, processed and deported if they don't have valid papers. And to them, this is not about hating other Africans or promoting xenophobia. It's about protecting their country, their safety and their economy. So some South Africans have shared real stories of how undocumented foreigners have affected their communities. For example, there are areas where locals say drug dealers from outside South Africa, they have taken over the streets. And others complain about unregistered foreigners taking over small businesses, pushing locals out of the markets, and not paying taxes. And in some neighborhoods, locals say police are too scared or too corrupt to act, which allows these crimes to continue. And to be fair, not all foreigners in South Africa are criminals. Let's be sincere. There are thousands that came in legally, work hard, contribute positively to society. But the problem is with those that claim or those that came in illegally, without visas, without identification, and without respect for the country's laws. And when crime happens, the people responsible can't even be traced because they are undocumented, and it becomes a serious national issue. Many South Africans, they believe that it's time to clean up the system. They want proper border control, stricter visa checks, and real action, not empty promises. They say South Africa has been too soft or too long, and that has allowed people to take advantage of their hospitality. And interestingly, this push for deportations is not just about crime, it's also about unemployment and the struggling economy. South Africans, they argue that undocumented foreigners are competing for jobs that locals should have. In a country where millions are unemployed, this has become a very sensitive issue. People feel like their own government has been ignoring their pain while they're busy protecting outsiders. Well, many South Africans are not against foreigners from what they are saying. They are just against lawlessness. They want their government to do what every responsible country does: control who enters, who stays, and who leaves. And Nigeria's recent immigration crackdown showed that it can be done. So South Africans want that same level of seriousness from their own leaders. So as the deportation process continues, South Africans are tired of talking. They want results. They want their government to take charge and protect the country's border for them. And for them, this is not about division, it's about survival. Well, do you think the mass deportation of foreigners from South Africa is okay, or do you think it's not okay? Well, let me know what you think in the comment section. And if today is your first time joining my channel, please kindly like, share and subscribe.
Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has raised concerns over the impact of migration on the country's strained resources. And speaking at a Metro Trading Services Reform Summit, Godongwana revealed that 51 out of every 100 migrants, whether legal or illegal, actually settle here in Gauteng. He further stressed that illegal immigration must be addressed urgently, citing population growth pressures and a declining economy since 2014. And with limited national resources, the minister called for decisive action to manage migration and also safeguard economic stability.
We should not be saying people who are urging, some of them are urging from a xenophobia. We're not urging from a, people must come to our country legally. People must come to our country legally. The ones that are sitting here illegally in the country, surely we should be sending them home. We should be sending, our resources are limited. We've had an economy which has been declining since 2014, and per capita has also been declining. When I say per capita, I mean one person for South Africans, I don't including others. Our rand is declining compared to what we've had. Now we've got others we're claiming in the same rand. That thing should be discussed objectively. As I'm about to read what says, or urbanization. Added to this dilemma of these people, there's massive internal urbanization, which I'm talking to the issues you're referring to. You have all got all the squatter camps, and people going to squatter camp. They become first in the queue, and there's somebody who have been in a backyard for years. Because they put themselves in front of the TV, they get services ahead of others. I think as political parties we need to discuss the culture. And two things we need to discuss as political parties. How are services going to be rendered if there's not going to be revenue raising? Municipalities can't raise levies. National government can't raise taxes. How are we going to serve this service of a growing population?
Somalians, Laba Bay Paza, they once offered 10 million.
To say, please stop what you're doing, so Nigezi Mali, just back
yes,
home.
So that was the first approach.
Okay.
And I think the guy, Wezanabo, I'm suspecting who's why it's Maliabo because what had some of the money because after Lapo Masina sits as Funduklala Nabo, Labantu, Wanyamalala. And Wanyamalala, like why feel like I think that's a country Nangas no Mugupi because most of
yeah.
So sinking and you are captured already. And that was the first attempt as Funimali. So Funuglung is a country. Now the last attempt was I think last year when they came and actually offered some money. But Bati, we are not saying ni stop, but can we share? Nama South Africans, maybe can we be the big bosses? Ama South Africans abe ngaphansi kwethu.
Yes.
And obviously they mean ukuthi they wanna own the supermarkets, the wholesalers, and the manufacturing value chain. And Ama South Africans must just own Amaspaza shop.
To start with, being in the country illegally, it's a crime. That is why police go out, conduct operations where we arrest those individuals who are in the country illegally. And we don't do that by ourselves because as police, we are not experts on issues of immigration. So we'll tag along with officials from Home Affairs Immigration who are able to identify papers that this is fake, this is authentic, this is expired or not. Then we know that this person is in the country illegally. Then we arrest and do the rest, including deportation. But for community members to organize themselves and go out and look for people who they claim are illegal and they want to chase them away for any other reason, it is not allowed. It is called taking the law into your own hands. And that's a crime. Because people have got the right of movement. People have got the right to live anywhere they want to in the country. So if committee members suspect that a person is in the country illegally, they've got no right whatsoever to demand papers from that person. Because even though he gives them the asylum document, the passport, they won't even know how to read them, most of them. And they won't know how to interpret them. So the least they can do, the sensible thing they can do is to apprehend the person, accompany them to a police station, or call the police. Yep. Say, police, we've got this person or these people, we suspect that they are in the country illegally. Then police will come to the crime scene or to the scene. Police will call Home Affairs officials. They will come and do their work. And once it's declared that these people are in the country illegally, then police and Home Affairs will take it from there. no community member must conclude that this person is in the country illegally. And nobody must assault any other person.
As an honorable speaker, firstly and most crucially, we need to recognize without a shadow of a doubt that this debate about immigration should be ultimately that immigration does not begin domestically, it begins at your border. And therefore, as Build One South Africa, I want to welcome this particular bill, but I want to do so conscious of the fact that we are in reality, we are dealing with politics that have engulfed the world, which are politics of scarcity rather than politics of abundance. They're politics where people recognize that failures of government in terms of their ability to provide jobs, to provide opportunity, have become easy enough to become scapegoating and blaming of another. It is indeed about politics of dispossession. It is about politics that say to ourselves, while we absolve government of responsibility, we can look at the foreigner, the other. Let's be fair, honorable members. Immigration is indeed a global problem. People move across borders. We have South African citizens who live elsewhere. The question that we must answer is how do we do so legally to secure the rights of those both who live within the country and those who are outside the country. What we must do is ensure that particularly in the SADC region, we make it easier and more possible for citizens to be able to move so legally without having to turn the problem into one of how do we expatriate citizens out of this country. We should all be quick to say, whilst the needs of South Africans about healthcare, about jobs, and how we can capacitate the state to deliver on that, we can't blame the state failure on that on immigrants. It must pain all of us when people are turned away like pregnant women at hospitals just because they don't possess a South African passport, for us to stand back and condemn and simply celebrate when operations like Dudula, etc., kick people away. Finally, I want us to be clear that BOSA supports the stance of the issue of pro-legal immigration into the country. It is important that we build an Africa that is prosperous, that has borders that work. And to do so, the funding of the Border Management Authority becomes an absolute deficit. We cannot be sitting here with a BMA that has got 11,000, that has a need for 11,100 personnel, yet it's sitting at less. We can't sit here and not appropriate the 2.2 billion rands that is required for the BMA to work better, so it can provide thermal scanners, modern police technology, and proper resources. So I want us to work harder at saying, let us capacitate the Border Management Authority. Let us give it its necessary equipment. Let's make sure anyone who comes into the country does so legally. And so that ultimately, when we deal with the implementation of this law, we are dealing with people who have chosen to break our laws, and then we can kick them out. But ultimately, this issue is about us protecting our sovereignty, making sure our laws are applied, and hearing the cries of citizens.
One of the most promising movements, like Operation Tutul, the very same members of Operation Tutul.
That's actually where we met, yes.
Yeah, they ate the movement. I'm saying it with no exception, all of them. They started taking bribes. We went to companies like BMW, Boroslin, all these companies that are employing illegal people. We don't have problem with legal people who are here legally. But we went there, we said, we are employing people illegal. And the BMWs, the Mercedes, they said, okay, bring your people. Instead, you find the leadership, of this movement, who put South Africa first to do the Soweto Parliament. They go in there, they pocket the money, they buy big cars, they go to Pakistani spaza shops, they pocket money. All of a sudden, Bakatama Pakistani, Sogama security, all those things that we are fighting for. So because they come from a place of hunger, so that's when
they're easily infiltrated.
They're easily infiltrated. And I told them that you don't join a civil movement with the hope I'm going to make money. They find a career, sell something,
You don't hate illegal immigration. You hate black people. If this was really about illegal immigration, you'd be angry with the illegal immigrants from Holland who arrived in this country uninvited, stayed without our permission, and stole our land. You say it's not the same because we didn't have immigration laws back then. But you also claim South Africa has always had borders. Explain how a country can have borders without laws. If there were no laws, then there were no borders. And if there were no borders, then no black person is illegal on African soil. So what are you actually protecting? You're protecting imaginary lines that were drawn up by colonizers who didn't even recognize you as a human being. And now you're using their maps to decide who belongs in this country. They stole the land, wrote their own laws, and what did South Africans do after apartheid? We let them stay. We rewarded them with citizenship. Nobody got deported back to Holland.